tonight we have a beer coming into us from Southampton Public House, which we've done their Burton IPA so far. And now we're going to be doing their wit beer. This is called Double White Ale. It's actually a wit beer that is pretty high in the ABV for its style, 6.6% to be exact. Very good ratings. It gets an 89 on Beer Advocate, and it gets a 91 on Rate Beer. So very good for the style. And it calls itself a double-strength version, it's not a virgin ale, whatever that means, double-strength version of the Belgian white ale, the wit beer, spiced with Curacao orange peel and coriander seed. So definitely a lot going on with this beer. Serving it in a Weizen glass. I don't have that tumbler. I got to get the tumbler and I got to get the goblet. I know I'm just every single time I do a review and I don't have the glassware, I keep saying I'm going to get it, but I never end up getting any glassware. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to head to a thrift shop or something. I don't want to spend too much money on glassware, but I guess I should just break down and buy one, especially when I start doing a beer coming up that's our first Berliner Weisse. That's supposed to be served in a glass called a bowl, which is not an actual bowl like you'd eat cereal or soup from. It's an actual little, almost like a Scotch glass looking thing. But anyway, we'll get to that later. We're not doing a Berliner Weisse right now. We're doing a wit beer, or a wit beer. I got called out on YouTube a little while ago for a beer that I did a while ago. I forget which one it was. But I was saying Weiss beer, because I'm American, I'm pronouncing the W as a W, when I should be saying a Weisse beer, German. W pronounced V. So thanks to, I forget the guy's name, that called me out on it, but always love the one-ups. They're always great. So there we go. We're pouring it into this Weizen glass. As you can see, we get that cloudy, citrusy straw color that you associate with the style. Getting a lot of bubbles up here. Probably about a finger of nice, frothy kind of head to this beer. I'm going to kind of swirl it around. I actually probably should have done this while I poured it out. I'll probably get called on that on YouTube as well. And I just kind of found this out not too long ago, that if you swirl the wit beer around while you pour it, it really gives you a more fullness to all the ingredients. They tend to settle, I guess. And when you kind of swirl it around, you get more of an even taste throughout, rather than your first taste being light and kind of meh, and then getting a little more bready and heavier as you go down into the body of the beer later. I didn't do that so much, so we may have to take. We're definitely going to take 3 sips. It's my rule. Take a 3-sip rule. Let's get the aroma here of Southampton Double White Ale. First thing that comes to mind is orange. Definitely getting the orangey smell, the spice, tiny bit of coriander smell to it too. But it's very orange heavy, very citrusy heavy, which is kind of what you think from a wit beer, a little bit reminiscent of a Hefeweizen. But again, the style of a wit beer is reminiscent of a Hefeweizen. So let's get the taste now of Southampton Double White. Oh, well, the aroma, by the way, before I take a taste, not quite as strong as I would want it. Not that banana yeasty smell that I would want from a wit beer that's a little bit heavier than a Hefeweizen. It's a little too Hefeweizen-y, but that's just nitpicking a little bit. First taste, I'm getting the yeast. Second, the back of the tongue, though, as soon as it hits that second part of the palate, very, very orangey. Extreme orange taste of this beer. It's a very good tasting wit beer. Tell you what, very refreshing. And it's got a bit of a malty backbone to it, just a tad. Where you're definitely getting a fullness of the palate. It's a heavier, chewy kind of taste in the back of the throat here. It is a very orange, heavy wit beer. Orange, I love orange, so I don't complain about that. It does have a little bit of a boozy quality toward the finish of it, which is a little bit different than a lot of wit beers. Usually you can't really taste the alcohol burn too much, but this being 6.6%, the alcohol burn is there toward the back of the throat, so you're definitely tasting a little bit of alcohol. It's almost like someone took a wit beer and kind of put a dash of vodka in it to kind of make it a little more potent, if you will. That said, this is a great representation of the style. I'm not a huge fan of the style of Witbier. That's one thing that I've learned from doing these reviews is I really like the Hefeweizens, but the Witbiers, a lot of times, just a lot of them, like some of the worst beers that I've done actually are Witbiers. And for the most part, they're just kind of beers that just don't do it for me. But this one, I think, has a great balance. And it's one of the better wit beers that I've done. I'd have to look back to see exactly the other ones that I've done to see if there's anything that I would have rated higher. But I'm going to go ahead and give Southampton Double White Ale a 2, or I'm sorry, not 2. That's awful, isn't it? An 8.5, I should say, out of 10. This is a great representation of the style. Great looking straw color. I'm seeing just the bubbles, coming up on the glass here. That's a great sign. Good looking beer. The smell is where I knock off most of the pointage. From my review. I want it to be a little heavier, smell-wise. Taste-wise, really good. The only tiny bit of problems that would knock off a half a point for me is just the booziness at the back of the tongue, which isn't masked quite as well as it could be, in my opinion. But overall, just a solid effort from Southampton Public House, and that is why I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10.